Hello, I'm reading Evie, and I'm here to talk about The Ghost and the Medium by Bobbi Holmes. In the 30s, finally. Much like life. I have less than 10 to go. I think there's... I can never remember. It's like 37 or 38. One of those two. One of them just came out. I'll have to look in that. Anyways, back to this one. When Marlow House reopened as a bed and breakfast, one of its first guests is Danielle's former mother-in-law, who Danielle has not talked to since moving to Oregon, which was like 4 years ago, I think. The mother-in-law brings with her one of the country's top mediums, or as Danielle calls him, one of the country's top con men. Drama. I wish to introduce 3 characters. Charlie Kramer, who went to school with Joe and Rusty. Rusty, someone who was murdered, killed at work during a robbery. And Shannon, who is Rusty's twin. Now, all these 3 people were friends with Joe, who we know... Ow. Sorry, it was like a shock or something. I think I hit a nerve there. Anyways, it's very sudden. All of these people went to school with Joe, I think, or... Yeah, I think they all went to school together. And they were friends, so... LOL, her former mother-in-law is bringing a con man / medium. You can tell I really don't read the plots before starting. Oh well. Melanie was surprised Danny didn't like him. Apparently he's famous, so her and Adam looked him up and watched some videos on YouTube. They were surprised Danny didn't like him because she's open to the possibilities of medium. If only she knew. If only. Finn already sounds like a piece of shit, honestly. Finn is the medium, sorry. He's a con man. He has poor Madeline, Lucas's mom, convinced that Lucas wants her to visit Danny, so he's probably trying to get after her money or something. I was wrong. I'll say that. I think the author must have read the dumb reviews about people complaining about the coffee nonsense when pregnant. She wrote in someone saying, I heard you can have a cup of coffee. Maybe the dumbasses will be satisfied then. Jesus. I swear. Cannot go on another rant about that. Someone just murdered Shannon. Dun dun dun. Charlie hit on Heather knowing she was there with her boyfriend. Yeah. I did not like Charlie. Charlie, Joe, and Kelly found Shannon's body. I wonder if Charlie is the killer. He decided to go visit her and make it known at Danny's Thanksgiving party. The mediums knew she was dead and was hoping he'd bring someone anyways. Joe had offered. Once Joe was on the phone with the paramedics, Charlie started cleaning up, incidentally enough. Supposedly just in shock, just randomly, because she died, as I said, Thanksgiving. And she had ordered in because she was what's it called? Agoraphobe? Yeah. Where you stay in the house. Kind of like the woman in the window. Anyways. So she ordered in from Lucy's Diner, I think. Yeah. And was starting to dig into her food. And so there was like the containers that had fallen. And so just magically started cleaning up. Well, not magically. I mean, coincidentally. A good way to get your prints on things. Charlie was also in business with Rusty when he died. And now Charlie is reading Joe an email he got from Shannon saying that she'll have the answers to Rusty's death on that Friday. Coincidentally, she died Thursday night on Thanksgiving. And he's trying to tell Joe how delusional Shannon has gotten over the years. The evidence just kept piling up on him. The plot thickens. Finn's fingerprints were found on Shannon's fridge, though. Dun dun dun. Finn saw Shannon that morning of her death for a private reading. He then helped her carry the food in and open the fridge. So, never mind. Finn is innocent of murder. Maybe. He was innocent. It could be Eden, Shannon's cousin. She took care of her for years, and was wanting to sell her portion of the house that their grandmother left them, or somebody, yeah, grandmother. But Shannon wouldn't let her because she didn't want strangers to live next door. They're both adamant about being innocent, Shannon's ghost and Eden. But she could have gotten tired of her. I don't know. Whoever does the editing for the narration was sort of lazy this time. I hate to say it, but there were quite a few times where they pretty much just repeated the same thing. There were quite a few times. No? Oh, but yeah, it was just like, I had to double back. I was like, wait, what? I was like, didn't we just say this? And I don't mean like the characters were like kind of repeating themselves. Like, it was literally word to word the same thing. The neighbor saw a man wearing a jacket with a white dolphin behind Shannon's house. Guess who has the same hoodie? Charlie. If it wasn't clear enough already. The book was a little obvious on this one. Charlie was stealing from other local businesses because they couldn't pay the bills for their business, and Rusty caught them. Rusty caught him, but didn't think he'd kill him, but wrote a letter and took photos and kept it in a bike shop just in case. It was there all 10 years after he died, in a hidden spot that Charlie did not know about, but Shannon did. Heather fake lured Charlie to her house, where Marie brought a gun from his house. She fake blackmailed him so he'd confess. Brian showed up per the plan, and Charlie tried killing him, but the gun wasn't loaded until after when he wasn't looking at some point. So they caught him. Yay. They're gonna make yet another person crazy. Heather is, at least. I guess if you murder somebody, you're not exactly that sane to begin with. She saw Cheryl and Lucas in a dream. Aww. So Finn is apparently a real medium. He's just a different kind than Danny. So what he's saying isn't false. He just can't see the ghosts, but apparently he can hear the ones that have already moved on. So, but they don't like give him all the information. It's kind of like ghosts. You know, they don't really just immediately jump out with all the information that they need to solve the murder. So, ghosts are a little finicky that way. I guess once you've moved on, you're just the same way. You don't want to give all the information, but you give parts of it. There was at one point where he, because he said a little bit, like one sentence or two about everybody, but for Chris, one of them was from his mother, and saying that she gave him a gift. Yeah. And he was like, oh, does that sound like, right or whatever? He kept repeating that, and I was like, shut up. It was when I thought he was fake, though. I was just like, shut up, stop saying that. But, anyways, that's when I thought maybe he was the real thing, because the gift would be to see ghosts. So, I don't know, just saying. I think that's what they ultimately decided it was. They barely talked about that one. That was just one example out of many. But, and he also repeated Lucas's words from when Walt was a ghost. Something about Lucas didn't want Walt to interfere with Danny's happiness, basically. It was something along those lines. And he basically repeated that to Finn, who then repeated it out loud to, Walt and Danny. Or, I think, the mother-in-law, too. But, so, yeah, that was also like, oh, well, maybe he is the real thing, sort of. So, yeah, he can't see them, though. But, so there are different kinds of mediums out there. Dun, dun, dun. I wonder if we'll hear more about him. Him and, what's-her-face? I never wrote her name down. I think it was, like, Marilyn or something like that. Danny's, our former mother-in-law, are gonna try to be in each other's life, basically. Here and there. We'll see how that goes. Especially now that Danny's pregnant, so she's happy for it. And I think even Lucas said that she met her soulmate with Walt, so pretty much. Oh well. Let me know what you thought. I am now on The Ghost and the New Neighbor. Somebody moved into Pearl's house. Yay. And I am one book closer. At this rate, I might be done like in a month or two if I keep listening. Let me know what you thought. Bye.